Greetings. This is Greg from Miami Beach. Today's show focuses on the coming crash this week of Tesla's stock price, given that we're seeing Giga 1 as well as the Fremont factory shut down. And so this is the primary part of our show this week. You'll notice behind me we have the waves coming out the Atlantic Ocean, and there are cruise ships actually going out. We don't know if they're full because there have been so many issues in recent days. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters as well as our subscribers. Your help is greatly appreciated and makes a big difference in the viability of the channel. So your support is mucho appreciated. So it's been, as you know, a pretty exciting week when it comes to Tesla. First, it was noted that the Fremont factory was shut down, and then we got news that the factory's back open again, and then we got news that it was shut down again. So very soon after, or the next day after it was announced there was a shutdown, we also got news that the Giga Factory 1 had also been shut down. So the question is, what are the implications of this, and how does it affect sort of the future of Tesla? So the first part of this discussion is what actually is going on with Tesla. And the answer that we're coming up with is that basically right now it's sort of hard to make money on new cars if you can't build any. And China, yes, there's build going on there, but not happening in Fremont. So the issue that comes up is, how will Tesla do relative to earnings in light of what's going on elsewhere? I would say the expectation is earnings might be a little bit rugged. And the main reason is that, yes, the Giga factory isn't going to close until the 23rd, but the big problem that's popping up right now is that there's actually no, there's insufficient sort of revenue to drive better than expected numbers. So what do we mean by this? So over the last, let's say, week, we've been getting input from supporters in different parts of the world, be it England, or looking online at inventory of Model 3s, or even visiting our local facilities. We can definitely see an overhang of inventory. So the question that pops up is, what impact does this have? Well, it's good because Tesla will be able to show solid production numbers, but it's kind of bad because it turns out something that we didn't predict. We thought that there was a large enough group of waiting buyers that it would be no big deal once the coronavirus hit. But it turns out there are a large number of people who are currently losing their jobs, and because they're losing their jobs, they're hard pressed right now to actually pay for the vehicles that they've ordered. So the one case we've heard of where vehicles are literally stuck on the truck is actually in the British operations, where I guess there's not enough room to land those vehicles, so they're just sitting on the truck waiting for sort of what to do, where they go, et cetera, et cetera. Tesla does a good job of inventory control, so we would expect that inventory will end up being moved to other locations from here in order to get some things or do something with it rather than having it just sit around. So sort of the next question mark is, what happens to the stock? And it's our belief that the stock gets jammed for a number of reasons, or will be lower, if not dramatically lower. Number one, the problem right now is that it's quite clear that the whole world, in terms of demand of things, including cars, is down. And number two, it's one thing to say we're going down for 2 weeks. What happens in 2 weeks that's not going on now is simply a lot more dead people in Europe and America. So in our minds, the down right now that we're seeing could actually turn into a 2 or 3 week, 2 or 3 month, maybe more time frame. And if that occurs, clearly the company isn't able to deliver numbers, not because they can't produce, but because they just don't have demand for it. So it may be been a blessing in disguise to have production stopped, because if you can't sell what you're producing, that kind of occurs. As you know, there, by the way, there's some new metrics that we're able to get that help us get a better arms around what's going on with production. In particular, you can actually go on the Google website and check it out, and you'll see that there are a large number of Model 3s available in all the zip codes around the country. And so, particularly in places where people are under quarantine, the likelihood of them getting out and buying and rolling their cars out is kind of low. So this is unfortunate, but it's a reflection of kind of what's going on currently. The next thing that we wanted to review is some of the nuances of what's going on at the Gigafactory. In particular, it's important to note that we're in a situation where, yes, the Giga on the Tesla side of the house producing drivetrains for the cars is still running. The issue, though, is Tesla owns that side. When it comes to the Panasonic side of the house, currently you're not seeing any production there, primarily because it might be good for Panasonic to stockpile batteries that would be used once production began again. But the challenge is, how long is that? And the issue is that if Panasonic produces those batteries, Tesla will only take sales and delivery of those vehicles and pay for them if they're on a just-in-time basis. So basically, there's no place to store those batteries, so why would Panasonic want to produce them? Another wrinkle to the whole Panasonic discussion is the fact that Panasonic actually has a situation where, yes, we believe they're actually still delivering production to China, so it would be a good thing for them to produce to feed the pipeline into China, where they also have the situation that Tesla is buying on a just-in-time basis. And with that in mind, it's also the case that with China, the run rate that we think about 3.5 million cells a day coming out of the Panasonic facility in Reno, how that feeds into what's going on nearby or in Shanghai is that Shanghai is at about 3,000 vehicles per week in production, and the Panasonic facility or plant in Reno can produce at 10,000 vehicles per week speed. So basically, a couple of days of Panasonic production would swamp the Chinese facilities with inventory of batteries until they get rolling and are using CATL and LG batteries that they've signed up for. And so we expect that to happen fairly soon. So in general, we'd have to say that things are really rough right now for Tesla. You really have to deliver both production in terms of producing the cars, but without the earnings and revenue that would go with those vehicles, we definitely see a strong quarter for Tesla, but not a strong enough quarter to meet the expectations of analysts. So sort of what happens from here? Well, I think in general, the news is kind of rough for Tesla. And given that even if we get out of this quarter's numbers, we also have the risk of, the quarantine/shutdown could actually last for an unknown period of time. And that period of time clearly influences how the company will do. So in general, we were trying to sort of review what's going on with Tesla currently, how, why, etc., as well as what's going on with Panasonic. Panasonic indicated it's a 2-week shutdown. What this implies to us is that 2 weeks allows them to have shutdown time so they can restart operations as China starts to run out of batteries, and then they can obviously restart again and just produce at a slower rate in order to meet what Chinese can use. Now, this whole bouillabaisse is rather interesting, and we're going to start into what we think is going on in China, which we think is really significant for the company. In particular, there's been a lot of construction in China, and the question mark is what is going on with that construction. The answer we're coming up with is that if you look at the construction being produced, it represents perhaps double, if not triple, the amount of square footage that there is in the current facility there. So what this suggests to us then is that Elon is actually moving forward with growth in China. And the hope we have is that if those facilities open in the next 30 to 60 days, it lends itself to Elon being able to fill the production pipeline that's been lost going on in the United States for however long that might last. So Let's keep our fingers crossed that this is manifested soon, because it is unfortunate to see the company in a tough position as it is. And then unfortunately, we just think that, Tesla in the sub $300 range is actually very possible. And we hope that bankruptcy isn't in the offing, but Tesla did indicate that they're at $6 billion worth of cash on hand. So in theory, things should work out fine, but we'll keep you posted as we get new info. So what I wanted to, so we're looking forward to your comments on this. If you have anything that might, dissuade towards what we've discussed, we're happy to see it. We look forward to your input on this. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Please take time to like and subscribe. We could use some help on Patreon. It's also an excellent time to maybe sell out some positions and buy back later. We also wanted to encourage you to think about maybe setting up a little, hedge or insurance against your portfolio as we enter this tough time for the whole world and Tesla as well. So, I'd say keep your eyes peeled and, be ready to dump ship if you need to, because you can get back in at other prices. Any rate, this is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Just a reminder, don't forget, don't go to bed within 4 hours of eating, at least 2 hours. Also wanted to encourage you to take time to do 25 leg lifts a day on each leg. Also wanted to encourage you to do at least a 30 SPF who's going to be outside. And finally, a 5-2 or some other diet in that realm might be a good idea to consider. Any rate, once again, wanted to thank you for joining us. Remember to like and subscribe. Tschüss, German, au revoir, French, le Hebrew, Choda, Hafez, Farsi, Hejdo, Swedish, Ni hao ma, hello in Chinese, Zdravstvuyte, hello in Russian. Have a great day. Bye for now. We look forward to our next encounter. And let's keep our fingers crossed that Elon pulls out a miracle in some way.